If you think your life is complicated, try being a pig in a town that requires you to wear pants. We are exploring the absolute peak of human legislative insanity, where cows have the right of way and donkeys are banned from bathtub naps. From bovine insurance scams to poultry-sized traffic fines, these rules are as real as they are ridiculous. I promise, by the end of this, you'll realize that the barnyard is a high-stakes legal minefield. 1. In Vermont, it is strictly illegal to paint a horse or a pig to disguise its age or health for a sale. Apparently, the 19th century version of filtering your social media profile was literally painting a senile pig to look like a sprightly piglet. It's a law that assumes farmers are basically master illusionists with a paintbrush and a dream. If you're trying to pass off a mule as a thoroughbred with some clever highlights, the Green Mountain State is ready to throw the book at your artistic career and your farm. 2. Under the Licensing Act of 1872 in the UK, it is an offense to be drunk while in charge of a cow. While it sounds like a joke, the law was intended to prevent intoxicated farmers from causing bovine chaos on public highways. It raises a serious question for the city dwellers watching this. Would you trust yourself to navigate a 1-ton animal home after a couple of pints? Or do you think the cow would end up steering you? It's a level of responsibility that most of us are not prepared for on a Friday night in the countryside, but the law expects perfection. 3. In Rhode Island, it is a crime to engage in a pig wrestling match or to unnecessarily pull the tail of any farm animal. The state legislature decided that if you're bored enough to start a professional wrestling career with a hog, you probably need a better hobby and a court date. It protects the pigs from people who think a barnyard brawl is a legitimate Friday night plan. Do you think a pig would actually win in a fair fight? Or are humans only brave when the opponent doesn't have 300 pounds of muscle and a low center of gravity? 4. In Virginia, there is an old law that forbids any person from using a pig to hunt for truffles on a Sunday. Apparently, even the swine deserve a day of rest. Or perhaps the local authorities were just worried about the unholy noise of a hungry hog digging through the dirt during church services. It's a strangely specific ban that targets the intersection of luxury dining and religious observance. If you want those expensive mushrooms, you'll have to wait until Monday to let your pig do the heavy lifting. Otherwise, you might find yourself in a very expensive sty. 5. In Maryland, it is against the law to lead a cow along a public highway if you are not wearing a clean, white apron. Yes, the legislature decided that if you are going to escort a bovine through the streets, you must at least look like you're ready to open a high-end bistro or perform a very sanitary surgery. It's the peak of agricultural fashion police, ensuring that even if the cow is messy, the owner remains suspiciously pristine. Would you trade your jeans for a chef's apron just to take your cow for a walk? Let us know if you think style matters in the barn. 6. Maine takes farm animal fashion very seriously. There is a regulation that forbids the wearing of bells on a cow unless she's actually in a pasture. If you bring your cow into town for a stroll, she has to be silent. It's a noise ordinance that feels like it was written by a very grumpy neighbor who couldn't stand the constant clink-clank of the neighborhood livestock. Do you think urban noise would be better or worse if we replaced car horns with the gentle sound of cowbells? Tell us in the comments if you prefer peace or if you are on Team Cowbell. 7. In Texas, it is a crime to milk someone else's cow. While that sounds like basic common sense regarding property, the law was actually written to prevent milk rustling, which was a genuine concern in the Old West. Stealing the milk was seen as a sneaky way to drain a farmer's profits without having to steal the whole animal. It's a rugged, frontier version of intellectual property theft, where the code is just a very confused and overworked dairy cow standing in a dusty field. Milking a stranger's cow is basically the 19th century version of hacking. 8. Montana has a law that makes it illegal to transport a sheep in the cab of a truck unless you have a chaperone. This was supposedly to prevent distractions, though we all know the real reason is much more bureaucratic. It suggests that a lone sheep is a menace to road safety, capable of grabbing the wheel or changing the radio station at the worst possible moment. It's a law that treats a farm animal like an unruly toddler who can't be trusted to sit still during a long drive. If the sheep wants to ride shotgun, it better bring a human babysitter along. 9. In the village of Larpool, England, there was once a law that required all pigs to wear pantalettes if they were walking through the streets. This was meant to protect the modesty of the townspeople who apparently found the sight of a bare pig leg to be scandalous. It's the ultimate peak of Victorian absurdity, projecting our own hang-ups about clothing onto farm animals that just want to eat some corn. It makes you wonder how long it took to get a 400-pound hog into a pair of custom-made trousers just to satisfy the local council's sense of decency. 10. California law once dictated that animals are not allowed to mate in public within 1,500 feet of a tavern, school, or place of worship. This basically turned every bull and cow into a potential public indecency offender. It forces farmers to become awkward chaperones for their livestock's romantic lives. If you were a farmer, how would you even begin to explain these zoning laws to a bull who's just following his instincts? It's a hilarious example of humans trying to impose a moral code on the barnyard, making farm romance a very complicated legal minefield. 11. Did you know some 19th century farmers were basically insurance hackers? In Alabama, it is strictly illegal to put salt on railroad tracks. Why? Because salt attracts cows like a magnet. Farmers would lure their own livestock onto the tracks, so a train would inevitably hit them, allowing the owner to sue the railroad for a fat payout. It's a dark, cartoonish scam that forced legislators to step in. Imagine explaining to your family that the cow is now an insurance claim. It's a bizarre peak of agricultural fraud that feels like a villain's plot. 12. Let's talk about Sunday poultry etiquette. If you find yourself in Columbus, Georgia on the Sabbath, do not even think about carrying a chicken by its feet. Any other day of the week, it's fair game, but Sunday is apparently the chicken's day of dignity. It turns a routine farm chore into a criminal offense. I have to ask, do you think animals actually sense when it's a holiday? Or is this just humans projecting our weird moral rules onto birds who just want some corn? Is a chicken's Sunday rest more important than your afternoon snack? 13. In Kingsville, Texas, there is a very specific ordinance that prohibits pigs from mating on airport property. Apparently, the city council was worried that porcine romance might distract pilots or interfere with the flight path of incoming planes. It's a classic case of aviation safety meeting barnyard biology. Imagine being the air traffic controller who has to clear a runway because a couple of hogs decided to ignore the no trespassing signs for a bit of midday passion. It gives a whole new meaning to the term grounded. 14. Arizona doesn't want you feeding garbage to your pigs without a special permit. It sounds like a joke, but the garbage feeding law is a real attempt to stop the spread of disease through the food chain. You can't just toss your leftovers into the sty. You have to treat it like a state-regulated catering event. It turns slop into a bureaucratic process. If you were a pig, would you prefer a government-approved diet of sterile pellets, or would you risk a legal fine for a slice of leftover pepperoni pizza? Is taste worth the crime? 15. If you're in Quitman, Georgia, you'd better keep your chickens on a tight leash. It is specifically illegal for a chicken to cross any road within the city limits. This isn't just a setup for a punchline. It's a genuine municipal code designed to keep the streets free of poultry-induced traffic jams. It turns the world's most famous riddle into a criminal offense. If your prize-winning hen decides the grass is greener on the other side, she's not just an explorer. She's a fugitive from justice who is probably facing a very poultry-sized fine. 16. In Iowa, it is strictly illegal for any person to throw a brick at a pig or any other farm animal without a very specific, legitimate reason. While most of us wouldn't consider a brick to be a standard tool of animal husbandry, the fact that this law exists suggests that at some point in Iowa's history, people were actually using construction materials to settle their differences with the local livestock. It's a blunt, literal protection of a pig's physical dignity. 17. In the state of Iowa, there is a very strict consumer protection law regarding horses with vision problems. It is illegal to sell a one-eyed horse unless you specifically disclose its lack of vision to the buyer before the money changes hands. Apparently, The 19th century version of buyer beware had a very specific focus on equine depth perception. It makes you wonder how many people were tricked by a clever comb-over on a stallion's mane. If you were buying a horse today, would you check for a glass eye, or would you just trust the guy in the cowboy hat? 18. South Carolina has a law that forbids a person from keeping a horse in their house, but it also says you can't walk a pig on the street if it's wearing a loud bell. It seems the state was very sensitive to both the smell and the sound of the farm entering the city. It's a noise ordinance for the 1800s. If your neighbor's pig was waking you up at 5 a.m. with a giant brass bell, would you settle it with a fence-side chat? Or would you take the legislative route and call for a total ban on hog jewelry? How much noise is too much for a porker? 19. If you find a stray cow on your property in Michigan, you are legally required to notify the town clerk within 24 hours. If you don't, you could be charged with illegal possession of a bovine. It turns a wandering animal into a high-stakes legal ticking clock. You can't just enjoy the free lawn mowing service. You have to file paperwork like you've just found a lost Ferrari in your garden. It's a reminder that in the eyes of the law, a cow isn't a pet. It's a valuable piece of mobile capital that requires immediate government documentation. 20. In France, it's a long-standing cultural rule, and often cited as an old law, that you cannot name a pig Napoleon. This was meant to preserve the dignity of the emperor, because apparently, comparing a world conqueror to a muddy hog was the ultimate insult. While you can name your dog or cat after almost any royalty, the pig is the one animal where the comparison becomes a crime against history. It shows that even the most powerful men in history are surprisingly insecure about their resemblance to livestock, proving that ego always trumps agriculture. 21. South Dakota takes its public aesthetics very seriously, specifically when it comes to livestock and water features. It is illegal to allow your horse into a public fountain or birdbath. This wasn't just a random whim of the legislature. It was meant to prevent horses from destroying delicate stone structures and polluting the water supply during the hot summer months. It really makes you wonder, did some cowboy try to turn a decorative town fountain into a private equine spa? Imagine the splash that caused and the sheer chaos of trying to evict a 1,000-pound horse from a birdbath. 22. New Hampshire has a very specific rule against making up a lamb to fool a buyer. This means you cannot dye, paint, or use cosmetics on a sheep to hide its age or any defects before a sale. It's the ultimate anti-catfishing law for the agricultural world. In the 1800s, people were apparently so good at lamb contouring that the state had to step in to protect honest buyers from deceptive beauty standards. It proves that vanity isn't just a human trait. Sometimes, it's a tool for a very crafty merchant trying to pass off a senior sheep as a young star. 23. If you're a farmer in Kansas, you had better watch your behavior around your neighbor's livestock. It is illegal to bang a frying pan or use a loud noisemaker specifically to scare a neighbor's cow or horse. This law targets the nuisance factor of rural life, where a spooked cow can cause thousands of dollars in property damage or even a stampede. It's a great example of how the law tries to enforce neighborly peace in the wide open spaces. Have you ever had a neighbor so annoying you wished there was a specific law to stop them from bothering you or your pets? 24. Kentucky law is very protective of young birds, specifically when it comes to Easter traditions. It is illegal to dye or color baby chicks, ducklings, or rabbits unless you are selling them in quantities of 6 or more. While a pink chick might look cute in a basket, the process was often toxic, and the law was designed to discourage people from buying single animals as toys that they weren't prepared to raise. This is a rare instance where animal welfare and holiday aesthetics collided. It's a reminder that even the most innocent-looking traditions can have a dark side. 25. In Pennsylvania, if you're planning a quiet day at the creek, make sure you leave your horse on the riverbank. It is strictly illegal to catch a fish while sitting on the back of a horse. This law exists to prevent people from using their mounts as mobile fishing piers, which apparently created a lot of chaos in local waterways back in the day. It's a strangely specific ban on a very rugged form of multitasking. If you're caught with a fishing rod in one hand and the reins in the other, You're looking at a fine that proves the state wants its fishermen grounded and its horses completely dry. 26. In Georgia, it is specifically illegal to use a whistle, siren, or any mechanical device to lure a neighbor's pigs or cattle onto your property. This isn't just about noise pollution, it was a serious anti-theft measure to prevent farmers from accidentally expanding their herd by confusing the local livestock with high-tech sounds. It turns a simple whistle into a criminal tool of high-stakes agricultural espionage. Have you ever had a neighbor so annoying you thought they were trying to steal your pets? Or is that just a rural paranoia thing? It's a hilarious look at how the law views a farmer's ingenuity as a potential felony. 27. Maryland has a bizarrely specific law that prohibits the eating of any food while you are actively leading a cow through the streets of a town. The logic was likely twofold: to prevent the cow from getting distracted and trying to steal your sandwich, and to maintain a level of professionalism in animal transport. It's the agricultural version of no eating on the job. It makes you realize that being a cow handler in 19th century Maryland was a job that required both intense focus and a very disciplined appetite, as one bite of an apple could lead to a fine. 28. North Carolina law states that it is illegal to use an elephant to plow a cotton field. While this seems incredibly specific, it stems from a period when traveling circuses would sometimes rent out their animals to local farmers during the off-season. The state felt that using a 3-ton African elephant for row cropping was both dangerous for the soil and potentially cruel to the animal. It's a wild reminder of how globalized the American South actually was, where a farmer might actually consider an elephant a viable alternative to a standard mule or a horse. 29. In Pennsylvania, there is an old statute that makes it illegal to barter or trade a horse in the middle of the night. This was a direct strike against horse thieves and shady dealers who use the cover of darkness to hide a horse's limp, a blind eye, or its actual age. The law essentially mandated that all animal transactions happen in the clear light of day. It's a rugged, honest-to-God transparency law for the frontier. Does this make you trust modern online marketplaces more or less, knowing that we used to need actual laws just to see what we were buying? 30. If you find yourself in London, England, you cannot lead a goat, a sheep, or a pig on the sidewalk, and you definitely cannot tie one to a lamppost. According to the Metropolitan Police Act, this is a public nuisance that carries a fine. The city was simply too crowded for livestock to be treated like parked cars. It paints a picture of a Victorian metropolis where a goat jam was a genuine threat to the morning commute. Even in the heart of one of the world's greatest cities, the farm was never truly that far away from the pavement and the police. 31. Arkansas doesn't mess around with transportation theft, and they have a very interesting way of defining a vehicle. It's illegal to borrow your neighbor's horse without permission, and the law classifies this offense as unauthorized use of a vehicle. In the eyes of the Arkansas legal system, a 4-legged animal is essentially a hairy Honda Civic. It's a rugged reminder that in rural America, horse theft isn't just a historical movie trope. It's a modern felony that can land you in serious trouble. If you're ever tempted to take a joyride on a stallion, remember, the cops will treat it like a high-speed car chase, just with more manure and fewer airbags. 32. North Dakota has a bizarre statute that makes it illegal to shoot a horse on a holiday. Apparently, the legislature felt that even if you have a legitimate reason to put an animal down, doing it on the 4th of July or Christmas is just bad vibes for the community. It creates a weird legal safety zone for horses during the festive season. If a horse is feeling rebellious, it knows exactly when to act out without the threat of a holiday-themed exit. Does your family have any unwritten rules for the holidays that are just as weird as this? Or do you think the horses actually appreciate the seasonal ceasefire? 33. In the state of Georgia, it is illegal to keep a pig in a pen that is within 300 feet of a neighbor's house unless that neighbor gives written permission. This law is basically the ultimate not in my backyard regulation for odors. It turns the simple act of raising a hog into a complex diplomatic negotiation. You essentially have to bribe your neighbors with future bacon just to keep your farm running. It makes you wonder, how much would your neighbor have to pay you to tolerate the smell of 100 pigs right outside your bedroom window? Is there a price for peace? 34. In Colorado, the law treats a horse exactly like a vehicle when it comes to sobriety. It is strictly illegal to ride a horse while under the influence of alcohol. This isn't just about protecting the rider. It's about the fact that a drunk person steering a 1-ton animal is essentially a low-speed, hairy tank roaming the streets. Imagine the local sheriff trying to conduct a field sobriety test on a stallion while you're slurring your words. It proves that even in the Wild West, the law expects the designated driver to be the one with the saddle, not the one in it. 35. Moving to Oregon, specifically the town of Forest Grove, you'll find that it is illegal for a person to herd cows down a residential street unless they have a special permit and a very good reason. The town was tired of bovine traffic jams, ruining the morning commute and the pristine lawns of the suburbs. It's a law that draws a hard line between the farm and the city, ensuring that your walk to the mailbox isn't interrupted by 100 confused heifers looking for a snack. It reminds us that even in the Pacific Northwest, the frontier is always trying to reclaim the sidewalk, one hoof at a time. 36. If you ever find yourself dining in Gainesville, Georgia, you'd better keep your silverware far away from the poultry. It is actually illegal to eat fried chicken with a fork in the city known as the poultry capital of the world. This law, passed as a quirky tribute to local tradition, remains on the books to ensure that everyone shows the proper respect to the bird by using their hands. If you're caught using a fork, you're technically committing a culinary crime. It's a hilarious peak of agricultural pride, proving that some towns value their fried heritage much more than they value standard table manners. 37. New Mexico treats cattle identification with the same level of security you'd expect for a passport or a bank account. It is a major legal offense to alter or tamper with a cow's official brand, as these marks serve as the definitive social security number for the livestock world. In the eyes of the state, changing a brand is a high-stakes form of identity theft that threatens the entire agricultural economy. It's a fascinating look at how ancient traditions have become part of a modern legal fortress, ensuring that a farmer's most valuable assets remain protected by some of the strictest data protection laws in the Southwest. 38. Over in South Dakota, specifically in the city of Sioux Falls, it is strictly illegal to use a firecracker or any explosive device to startle a cow or a horse. This wasn't just about preventing animal cruelty. It was about preventing mass stampedes through the city streets that could level half the town in minutes. It's the kind of law that was clearly written because one bored teenager with a match and a firework nearly caused a metropolitan disaster. It shows that the difference between a quiet afternoon and a town-wide cattle riot is often just one loud bang and a very nervous heifer. 39. Delaware has a law that sounds like it came straight out of a movie about psychic animals. You are legally forbidden from whispering in a horse's ear during a race or a show to influence its performance. This was meant to stop people from using secret commands or psychological tricks to rig a competition. It paints a hilarious picture of a suspicious official lurking behind a horse, trying to catch a jockey, whispering words of encouragement, or insider trading secrets to their mount. In Delaware, if you want your horse to win, you have to do it the old-fashioned way, through training, not psychological warfare. 40. Wyoming has a very strict policy on sheep branding. If you are found branding a sheep that doesn't belong to you, you are facing a potential prison sentence, but the law also specifies that you cannot brand a sheep with your own mark if the animal is already marked in a way that suggests it's someone else's. It sounds redundant, but it was designed to close a loophole where finders keepers was being used to justify sheep theft. It's a law that proves that when it comes to livestock, the government assumes everyone is a potential thief until the paperwork and the hot iron prove otherwise. 41. Ever felt like sharing a celebratory cigar with your favorite pig in Oklahoma? Well, put the matches away. It's illegal to give a cigar to any domesticated animal, including your livestock. The law was designed to prevent people from treating animals like props in a comedy act. But it results in a hilarious legal reality where swine health includes a strict no-smoking policy. It's comforting to know that while pigs can't vote, the state of Oklahoma still looks out for their lungs. No stogies for the hogs, no matter how much they win at the county fair. 42. Utah takes the hierarchy of the road very seriously, and cows are at the top of the food chain. According to state law, cattle have the right of way on all public highways. If a herd of cows decides to take a nap in the middle of a two-lane road, you aren't allowed to honk or push them. You simply have to wait for them to finish their meeting. It's a world where the bovine commute is the only one that matters. Have you ever been late for work because a cow decided the asphalt was the perfect place for a siesta? It's the ultimate test of patience. 43. If you're a resident of Virginia, you might want to keep your equine friends in the barn where they belong. There is a long-standing law that makes it illegal to keep a horse in your house. While most of us struggle to fit a new sofa through the front door, someone in Virginia's history clearly tried to turn their living room into a stable. It's a health and safety regulation that targets the most extreme version of bringing your work home with you. Honestly, if you can get a horse to sit on a recliner without breaking it, you've already achieved something legendary. 44. In Arizona, there is a legendary law that makes it strictly illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. This wasn't just a random act of legislative cruelty. It stems from a 1924 incident where a local dam broke and a donkey that had curled up in a tub was washed miles downstream. The town spent so much time and money on a massive search and rescue mission for the soggy burrow that they simply banned the practice to prevent another great donkey flood. It's a hilarious reminder that some laws aren't about common sense. They're about a very specific, very expensive disaster involving a very sleepy farm animal. 45. In the town of Wilbur, Washington, the local authorities once felt the need to pass a very subjective law. It is technically illegal to ride an ugly horse in public. This leaves us with a massive legal question. Who gets to decide what an ugly horse looks like? Is there a designated beauty judge at the sheriff's office? It's the peak of municipal vanity, proving that even in the rugged West, some towns were more worried about their aesthetic reputation than actual crime. If your horse has a face only a mother could love, you might be looking at a very awkward fine. 46. Here's a weird one from Hartford, Connecticut. You aren't allowed to cross the street while walking on your hands if you are leading a pig. I'm not sure who had the core strength and the total lack of judgment to try this, but the city council felt it was a threat to public order. It's the ultimate circus act law. It makes you wonder, if you saw someone walking on their hands while guiding a prize hog through heavy traffic, would you call the cops, or would you just stop and applaud the sheer athleticism of such a bizarre, mud-covered performance? 47. New Jersey maintains a very specific Sunday restriction for livestock. It is illegal for a cow to be on a bridge on a Sunday. Presumably, the state wanted to keep the roads clear for people traveling to church or family gatherings, and they decided the cow's social life could wait until Monday. It turns a bridge into a forbidden zone for one day a week. If you were a cow, would you feel discriminated against by the bridge authorities, or would you just enjoy the mandatory day off from crossing the river? It's a strange peak of sabbatical bureaucracy for the barnyard. 48. In Mississippi, the law limits the number of cows you can lead down a public road at one time. It is illegal to lead more than 2 cows along a highway unless you have a designated warning party to alert oncoming traffic. They didn't want a massive bovine blockade causing accidents in the middle of the countryside. It treats a small group of cows like a wide-load, oversized vehicle. If you're trying to move 3 cows, you're officially a traffic hazard. It's a fascinating look at how the law manages the logistics of animal transport on the modern American road. 49. Tennessee has a law that makes it illegal to use a lasso to catch a fish, but historical records show this was actually a clever way to stop people from lasso fishing for cows that had fallen into rivers from bridges. People were using ropes to pull livestock out of the water, but the legal language was so messy it ended up banning a specific fishing technique. It's a perfect example of how one farmer's rescue mission can become another man's criminal offense. Would you risk a fine to save a cow from a river, or would you wait for a legally approved boat to arrive? All right, we've covered 49 points, and there's only one left. But first, our final verdict. The crown for the most nonsensical rule goes to Wilbur Washington for making it illegal to ride an ugly horse in public. This is peak bureaucratic vanity. Imagine a cop pulling you over not for speeding, but because your horse has a bad face. Who defines equine beauty? Is there a state-mandated aesthetic chart for deputies? It's a law that treats the town square like a high-fashion runway where the models weigh 1,000 pounds and eat hay. Do you agree? Or was another point even more insane? Now, for number 50. 50. In some rural parts of the United Kingdom, it is a legal requirement for cows to be fitted with reflective tail lights if they are being moved along public roads after sunset. This is to ensure that drivers can see the cow's rear end from a distance, preventing high-speed collisions in the dark. It turns every cow into a slow-moving organic vehicle with its own safety equipment. It's the ultimate collision of modern road safety and ancient farming traditions, ensuring that Bessie is just as visible as a semi-truck when she's heading home for the night. We've traveled through a legal landscape where pigs need pants and cows have more road rights than you do. It's clear that when humans and livestock collide, logic is usually the first thing to get tossed over the fence. These laws prove that we've spent centuries trying to train the chaos of the farm with paperwork. But here is the real question. If farm animals actually understood the ridiculous legal codes we've built around them, which one do you think would be the first to sue humanity for emotional damages? Drop your answer below, hit subscribe, and join our world of absurd facts. See you in the next one.